Hi, I am Erimvor, and welcome to a new summary about the Lord of the Rings. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell of the notifications if you don't want to lose the next videos. And if you like this kind of content and want to contribute with a free donation, there is a direct PayPal link in the description. Thank you in advance and enjoy! Gandalf had told Frodo the final part of the story of the ring, and how he had fallen into the hands of Smeagol, turning him into Gollum. It was amazing to think that this hideous being had once been related to the hobbits. Frodo could hardly believe it, and he felt disgust and sorrow. The wizard, for his part, could not be unaware of how much the creature had in common with his dear friends in the Shire. Indeed, he claimed that meeting Bilbo in the caves of the Misty Mountains had inspired in Gollum the memory of the wind, the trees, the sun on the grass, and other forgotten wonders. His evil side had destroyed and corroded him into the point of insanity. Yet Gandalf thought he had little hope of recovery, perceived that he was not a hopeless case. He had seldom worn the ring, for in the darkness of his isolated cave he had no need of it. He had become a poor miserable devil, thin and transfigured, but not yet completely faded. He hated and loved the ring, just as he hated and loved himself. He could not rid himself of it, and he no longer had any willpower. A ring of power lives a life of its own, and is capable of slipping away at will, shrinking or expanding, though no bearer has ever given it away of his own accord, except for Bilbo, who would not have succeeded without Gandalf's help. So it was not Gollum who wanted, but the ring himself, which took the opportunity to live. It was the most extraordinary event in the history of the ring. Bilbo's arrival at the precise moment, the fact that he laid his hand on it in the darkness of the cave. Gandalf believed that Bilbo was destined to have the ring, as well was Frodo, and he found this thought deeply encouraging. He explained that some of this news he had learned recently, others were matters already known to the wise, such as the story of Elendil and his son Isildur. But he had been certain that this was the only ring just a few moments before. The fiery writing that had appeared was the final proof. Years ago, after the incredible story of the reconquest of Erebor, he hunted down Gollum to see how it could fit into the context of the story. It was an arduous task, but he managed to find the creature near Mirkwood. Gollum told numerous lies about how he obtained the ring, of course. Between whimpers and recriminations, he said that it was a birthday present from his grandmother, who, among other things, had several elven rings. The sorceress tried to get the truth out of him while threatening him with fire, and admitted that he had been forced to be hard on him. Finally, had missed the lies. The story of Deagle came out, and that was enough. The miserable creature's torment was that he had been robbed, and he often muttered threateningly, declaring curses and revenge on his people who had hunted him and on Bilbo himself. He was haunted by the question, "What do I have in my pockets?" and cursed and swore incessantly. It took a year or two before he emerged from his cave. Although he was still bound to the ring by a morbid passion, he was no longer consumed by it. He began to live again. He was terribly old, but less timid and more hungry. The air and fresh food had invigorated him and encouraged. He wandered around for a while before he came to Mirkwood. In his wanderings, Gollum stealthily learned many things, especially about the great events that were told in Esgaroth, to the wildness of the reconquest of Erebor. Many had heard of Bilbo and knew of his origins. In fact, Frodo asked why Gollum did not continue his search for Bilbo as far as the Shire. Gandalf admitted that he had made the terrible mistake of letting him go, as he had other things on his mind at the time, and still had faith in Saruman's science. He told of having entrusted the Wood Elves with the task of tailing him, but the Wood Elves managed to wriggle out of their field of inquiring by diverting south, drawn by something mysterious. The wizard had resumed the chase after old Bilbo had left the county. The hunt for Gollum was successful with the help of his friend Aragorn, whom he described as the greatest traveler and hunter in Middle-earth. Gollum cried incessantly and complained of their cruelty. He refused to say what he had done in those last years. Many Gollum clutched at his throat. When they pressed him with questions, he would writhe and moan, ripping and licking his finger as a reminder of some pain and torture he had endured. There was no doubt about it. He had advanced slimely and slowly towards the land of Mordor. Silence fell upon the room. Frodo could hear his own heartbeat. Everything seemed still, both inside and outside the house. Even Sam's gardening scissors were silent. Gandalf resumed his tale, explaining that Mordor attracted all that is evil in the world, even Gollum, to whom the ring had left an indelible mark. This was a further misfortune, as he was captured and tortured. He later escaped, or was set free, no one could know, but it was in this way that the enemy learned that the only ring had been found, thus learning about the Shire, the hobbits, and the name Baggins. Frodo was appalled. He wished Bilbo had killed Gollum when he had the chance, but Gandalf warned him. Many of the living deserved death, and many who are dead would have deserved life. Who can be in a position to decide? Not even the wisest could foresee all the consequences. It was mercy that stopped Bilbo's hand, and this gesture had worked profoundly in his favor, saving him from the grasp of evil. Indeed, it was his salvation. For at the beginning of his possession of the ring, there had been an act of mercy. Gandalf knew in his heart that Gollum would still have a part to play in the story, for better or for worse. In any case, his wretched creature was presently held in prison by the Wood Elves, who treated him with all the care and gentleness of their wise and good hearts. Frodo then stated that it was necessary to dispose of the ring, to destroy it perhaps, that he would have done so already if Gandalf had written to him during those years. The wizard taunted Frodo, urging him to do so at once. The hobbit took the ring and weighted it in his hand. It was a thing of a shining beauty, perfect in form and color, the smooth gold now showing no writing. He gathered all his strength to throw it far into the fire, but found he had put it in his pockets. He realized that something was acting against his will. Gandalf laughed sardonically. The ring had begun to take hold of Frodo. Hiding it would have been pointless and too dangerous. He explained that even furnaces or anvils of the dwarves could do no damage to it whatsoever, and not even dragon fire could do that. He had been forged by Sauron himself. The only chance would be to find the Chasm of Doom in the depths of Orodruin, the Mountain of Fire, and to cast the ring there to destroy it truly. That would prevent the enemy from taking it forever. Frodo was discouraged by the idea of such a feat and offered the ring to Gandalf, who jumped on his feet. He would not accept the ring. It would have become too great and too terrible. Through him the ring would have acquired an even more frightening and diabolical power. He dared not take it, and urged Frodo never tempt him again. His desire to keep it only for safekeeping would be betrayed by his desire to use it for good. He went to the window and threw open the curtains and shutters. He laid a hand on Frodo's shoulder. A decision had to be made quickly. The enemy was ready to act. The hobbit stared into the fire of the fireplace and thought he saw the flames of the legendary Chasm of Doom in the Mountain of Fire. He let out a sign and finally replied. It was necessary to find a better guardian for the ring. He decided with regret that he could no longer stay at Bag End. His beloved county would be in danger. In truth, in his heart he longed for an adventure like Bilbo's, and why not to meet him again? Gandalf was amazed by the decision and delighted. He said that the hobbits were marvelous creatures, of whom one could learn all there was to know about their customs and habits in a month, but who would still surprise 100 years later. It was decided that the name Baggins was no longer safe, and that Frodo would answer to the name Underhill. Even then, there could have been dark forces at work, searching for the Shire and a certain Baggins. Outside the window all was quiet and no noise was heard. Gandalf became suspicious, and with a leap he stretched his arm out from the windowsill. He grabbed Sam Gamgee by the ear, and he let out a muffled squeak. He was reprimanded for his insolence and for eavesdropping, skulking outside the house. The younger gardener was terrified and begged not to be transfigured by the wizard into some strange beast. And he was questioned about what he heard.